Hello there, it's Kim again, coming to you with another paper creation. Kim with Wild Rose and Pearl. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based out of the Okanagan, British Columbia, Canada. And we're coming here to work with Peaceful Garden and Dove Christmas card today. So this is the card we've got here. And when you open it up, it has a flying dove inside, holding an envelope, a little message for someone you care about. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on today. I've got most of the pieces cut. I will show you how to do some die cutting today. I'm going to pull in my little mini cut and emboss machine, and we'll work with that today. So these three pieces I will already have three pre-cut. I wanted to show you some of the paper that we have in this paper set. These are the beautiful designs. We've got these lovely doves. Of course, I have it upside down, but yeah, the lovely doves here. You can see it's kind of already cut into, what would that be, 2.5-inch strips? Yeah. And then we've got beautiful foliage. We've got this lovely foliage set here. Doves again. I don't know why I had them all upside down. There we go. And this looks like a baby's breath. And then on the other side, our B side, as we would call it, we have these lovely designs. So just a more tamed down version. We will be using this today. We will also be using a little strip of this today. And we will be using a tiny little strip of this. You can get a ton of these cards out of this paper because they only use a very small amount of the paper. And then we're going to pull in some white cardstock and some cloud covers cardstock. Okay, so let's start off with all of the supplies, paper cuts that we need. So first of all, we're going to need our card base. This is going to be 8.5 by 5.25, 8.5 by 5.5, sorry, scored at 4.25. And then we're going to have the inside piece, which is same color, just a little smaller. We're going to do this 8-inch by 5-inch. So it's just a 1/2 inch shorter all the way around. Okay, then we're going to pull in for our die cuts a piece of white cardstock. For cutting, I just did 5.5 by 1 3/4. It's kind of like half of a quarter of a sheet. And then this one here, 4.25, which is half a sheet of paper, and then I just took a 1-inch strip, right? So just those were the measurements I chose to use. So we're going to start off by doing our die cutting. So we're going to take our small piece of white cardstock and we're going to pull in our die cuts. So let's do that. And I've got this little baby stamp. Sorry for the shake. Gotta open it up. Grab all of our plates. And we're just going to use our base plate today. Here, this is our die cutting plate. So we've got a number 1 here, and then we've got 2 number 2s. So then we're going to have a really cut up one here on the bottom, and then a nice one on top. We're going to grab, first of all, we're going to cut all of our birdies and everything we have to do in white. So we're going to grab 1 open-winged bird. Okay. We're going to grab 1 single flight bird. And then we're going to grab our sprig here. And we're going to cut that out. So I do not know how I got that on there. So I'm going to guess I did this bird like this and then put this one in the middle. Yeah, maybe. I'm guessing that's how I did it because I don't know how. I'm going to get it on this little strip. I don't know what I was thinking with this little strip, but I do have them on there. So they will cut. Okay. If you need to keep them secure, you just grab a Post-it notes. And it's very light tack. a Post-it note has very light tack adhesive, so it won't tear the paper. So if I want, I can flush these up real nice, and then they won't move on there. There we go. And we've got all 3 of these on our plate. All right. Now we're going to run them through the die cut machine. So you just put that sandwich together, you wait till it goes to here, and then you can see that the handle down here is dancing. When it starts to dance, you know it's grabbed on. Then you take the handle and turn it the rest of the way. So I'm just gonna run these through the machine. And then next up, I'm gonna take my piece of cloud cover cardstock and I'm gonna die cut one of these large twigs. I'm gonna die cut a little small twig, and I'm gonna die cut the envelopes. So the envelopes come in a 2-pack, so you're gonna get 2 with your die cut. So let's put that aside, and this aside. Okay, so we've got those 3 pieces all done. We'll put these back. Actually, maybe just put that flying bird in there. This one there. And where's my die cut case? Here we go. Keep that together. We're going to do 1 blue sprig here. 1 of these little sprigs. Itty bitty sprig. And then a couple of envelopes. We only need 1, but we can cut 2 and then just put them in an envelope. So same sandwich. Our number 1 plate, our clear plate, cardstock, die cuts on top. Wait a second, that moved. That moved. I don't want that to move because I won't get the full sprig on there. So I gotta make sure I get that tack on the cardstock. Did not get it on the cardstock again. Guess it's a little too wide there. Okay. That one. Let's do our sandwich. There we go. Run that through our mini boss machine. There we go. Now we can take these pieces out. Got our blue cloud cover, the little sprig, and our envelopes. Okay, we'll put those away. We'll put that all away, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. We'll put those all on the side. Okay, then we're going to take our pieces and we're going to do a little bit of gluing with them. So we're going to glue, put that aside. We're going to glue our little envelope to our open wing dove. And how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to grab some of my glue here out of my nifty little holder. And I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue. You can either put it on the back of the dove's mouth or you can put it on the envelope. I'm just going to put on the corner of the envelope here a little bead of glue. Place that underneath the bird's mouth here. I shouldn't have done that. You know what? I'm going to glue underneath the bird instead. That's probably the better choice. So I'm just going to glue a little bit of glue underneath the bird's head here. Okay. Then I'm going to take my envelope. I'm going to put it under my bird's mouth. Because the bird is bringing the envelope to me. to whoever I'm sending this to. So then I'm going to put that aside to dry. No more fussing about. This one here, I think the best line is to put a little bit of glue on the twig. So normally I would say the envelope, but I guess I didn't really have it the orientation correct. So I'm just going to put a little bit on this little leaf here. And then I'm going to place that leaf right behind the head. So then I get a pretty good connection there and not getting a lot of excess glue. Put that aside. Put my glue cap on. Next up, I'm going to work on my stamping. So I'm going to grab my inside piece here, and on the left-hand side of my inside piece, I'm going to grab my Misty Moonlight here, and I'm going to stamp with the Holly Jolly set. So I've already put them on the blocks, but these are the two I'm going to use today. I'm going to use the Merry Christmas, and I've already placed them on the block, one above the other, and may the spirit of the season bring you hope, happiness, and love. You could also do happy, I guess there isn't a holidays here. Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas, bright and happy Christmas wishes. Merry Christmas, you can use that. So you could do whatever, or wishing you and yours all the best if you wanted to be just a little more neutral with it. But yeah, this is a lovely set. It's quite a great bundle, but I did pull this out because I really love the fun font of it. So going back to our creation. So we're going to do, may the spirit of the season bring you hope, happiness, and love. So a light tapping. I'm going to put that center line on my grid paper in the center, just so I get it nice and straight. And then I'm going to take my stamp and stamp it on the left-hand side. Now, I talked to a lady recently who said she always has her sentiment on the right always puts her sentiment on the right because she writes on the left-hand side of her card. I never thought of that. I've never done that, but I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, and then the other one, we're going to actually, oh no, I still need this open. We're going to stamp, but I'm going to take a Post-it note for spacing. So I want to stamp it about 1/2 inch from the left and about 1.5 inches up. So this is about 1.5 inches wide. And so if I just go about 1/2 inch from the left, so if I go 1/2 inch from my center line here, and I go like this, I'll have some pretty easy spacing. Use Post-it notes for spacing if you can. Sometimes they work great because they're an easy measurement. So then I'm going to take the Merry Christmas, and I've placed the Merry above, the Christmas below, and I've kind of done them a little off center. And then I'm going to take that Christmas and I'm going to line it up on that left-hand side of that Post-it note because I can see it. And it allows me to kind of see how straight it is because the Post-it note is there. So the C comes down quite a bit. So I am going to get it straight lined with the rest of the word Christmas. Okay. So just up and down. Fabulous. Fabulous little stamp there. That worked out really well. Okay, then we're going to grab our 3 pieces of Designer Series paper. So we've cut these 3 pieces of Designer Series paper into very small little bits. Our 3 pieces, I'm just going to pull them out here because I pre-cut them, are going to be, let me just grab all 3 colors here. Oh, all 3? There they are. Okay, all 3 colors. Okay, we've got all 3 pieces of this, and they were cut at 4 inches by 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so all 3 of them are cut 4 inches again by 3/4 of an inch. So this takes up very little paper, and cutting on a 4-inch is very, very efficient with your paper. So we're going to take these and we're going to layer them from the top to the bottom. Now we're just going to lay them on top of the card right now so we can get our spacing really nice. So the darkest one on the bottom and the lightest one on the top. Okay, so once I get to know where I want this to be, so I'm going to put that there nice and close to the Christmas, this one with about the same spacing, a little bit of spacing there. Once I've got that decided, then I'm going to take my pieces and I'm going to tear the ends. I'm going to tear the ends about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to place my finger here and about the kind of like the pinch of my thumb, I figure is about 1/2 inch, right? Pinch of my thumb. And I'm just going to tear that off. And it doesn't have to be pretty, but it's showing that white edge on there. So that's going to be my first one. Then I'm going to tear this one from the left-hand side. So knowing the direction of my paper, right? Making sure it's directioned, everything's going up. I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing. So grabbing that pinched and then tearing the paper. There we go. That's got a nice white tear edge to it. And then this one, I'm going to go on the right-hand side again. Oh, I like that. Nice, good tearing. You can see the inside of that paper. So we'll just toss those little scraps out. Okay. And now what I would do is I would take my dimensionals and I'm going to pop up these pieces. I'm going to adhere them to the front of the card. Okay. So we're going to grab some dimensionals. We're just gonna, usually I do rule of thirds on there, 3 points, a couple low and 1 high. And then just take my backing off and going about 1/4 inch from the left. Just kind of centering it on the card there. Okay. So there we go. We've got our first one laid down. I made sure it was nice and straight with the bottom there. Then we're going to grab our second one. Same. We're going to grab some dimensionals and put them on there. I love my take your pick tool for taking the backs off these. You just poke and pull, poke and pull. Okay. So this one here, it's going to be right above that, Mary. Trying to do the same kind of spacing and get the same on the left as we did on the right. So we got about 1/4 inch there. We're going to do the same thing here, 1/4 inch there. There we go. And then we'll place our third one with our dimensionals. 1, 2, and 3 in the middle. Okay. And following that same lead, I have 1/4 inch on the left. Some nice spacing. Okay. Great. Then we're going to place our sprigs. So we're going to put a small amount of glue and we're going to put our white one down first, not our cloud cover. We're going to put our cloud cover one on the top. So we're going to take our little bit of glue here, and this is going to span this opening. So because it's spanning the opening, we of course only want to put glue on the bottom and the top. So I can see which leaves are going to be on there. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 on the bottom and 1, 2, 3 on the top. That should keep me pretty safe. It's always good to lay things down first for just a second, and then you can see kind of where you don't want to get glue, right? Where you don't want the glue, because if you got kitties or dogs, inevitably that little kitty hair or dog hair will find its way to that glue and make itself part of your project. Okay, so we're going to span that across. We're kind of pointing this to the right. Okay, kind of pointing it to the right. Then we're going to do the exact same thing on this one, knowing that I already know I just need to do my 3 bottom leaves. 1, 2, 3. And I want to get a little bit of that glue off. That was a bit of glue. So we're just going to go on there. And then the 3 top leaves. 1. Come on, glue. You know, it's funny. I get so scared I'm going to push too hard that I'm too delicate with it. I don't get enough glue. Okay, so then this one we're going to kind of lean to the right, or sorry, leaning to the left. So it looks like they're not the same. It gives you the illusion they might be different. Okay, and then we're going to grab a piece of twine that's approximately 12 inches, 8 to 10 inches long. We're going to tie a bow in that twine. Now I've already got mine already tied up. I'm going to grab a glue dot and place this bow right on the bottom of those 2 sprigs. So a little glue dot here. I'm going to grab our bow. Now my bow has decided to turn itself, so I'm going to turn it back. I'm going to force it to go the way I want it to. So there's our little twine. We're going to place that on. That looks very pretty. And then we're going to attach our doves. So we're going to attach this dove to the front. First, though, to make it extra special, I'm going to grab some Wink of Stella. And I'm going to Wink of Stella the tips of these wings. I'm just going to put a little shimmer on the tips of these wings. It looks just as pretty without it. You don't have to do this piece, but I do personally like it. Then I grab my bone folder, and I take my bone folder and I put my thumb underneath the bone folder, and just like when you pull ribbon to get it to curl, you're kind of doing the same thing. So I'm just holding my thumb at the bottom and curving it up and around. That's going to curve the wings of my dove. So I'm just using that to kind of curve the wings of my dove. Then, it's a little flatter, I'm going to place this across here. So again, you can see there's a gap in between. So we're just going to put glue on the top and the bottom of our little bird, missing that center area. Okay, so top of the head here. Can even put a little bit on that sprig. That makes it a little more secure to the card, right? So a little bit more on those leaves. Again, I'm pressing too lightly because I'm a little off camera too. Because I don't want to get too much. So just on the bottom, along that bottom area and along that top area. And then we're going to span that gap. So there's our dove, our first dove. Okay, so now we're going to put this aside. We're going to pull in the inside piece. So the inside piece now, we're going to fold it in half with our bone folder. And we're going to pull in our cutter or a scoring blade. So what we're going to do is we're going to go along the top here. We're going to go along the top. We're going to, I'm hoping you can see that. So along the top, we're going to make a mark at the fold line. Along the top edge, we're going to go 1 3/4. So we're going to go 1 3/4, and we're going to make a little pencil mark. I'm going to grab a pencil here. 1 3/4, we're going to make a little pencil mark right there. Okay. Then we're going to go along the fold line. So we open it up. We're going to go along this fold line, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make a mark at the 2.5 inch mark. So yeah, 2.5 inches. Okay, how am I going to do this? 2.5 inches. If I was to do it, I would be doing it on this side. So 2.5 inches. I'm going to make my mark right here. I'm just going to flip it over. So this is going to be my mark at 2.5 inches. Okay, so now I've got 2.5 to 1 3/4. I'm going to place that in my cutter here. Now I'm going to push away that cutting blade, and I'm going to bring in my scoring blade. And I want to see those 2 marks in my track, and they're going to be following inside of here. So we're following those in the track here, and I'm going to scoring, not cutting. I'm going to score along between those 2 marks. I want to do a couple of times. so I can get all 4 layers down. Okay, so now can you see that this has got a score line in it and it's scoring all the way through? Okay, then what I'm going to do is we're going to fold this in on those score lines. So we're going to pull this centerpiece towards us, which is going to naturally kind of pinch that centerpiece, which is going to pull those other sides in. Now we've got a good start. Now you can take it and fold it along that score line really nicely on that side. We can take it and fold along this score line. Now that we've got those started. Then when we go to fold our card, it should come into itself really good. Then grab your bone folder or the side of your stamping block and just burnish that edge. Get that fold nice and creased in there. Okay, so this is going to be your mechanism. This is what's going to help your dove fly. Okay, so now we're going to pull in that second dove. Do a little curve on these wings. A little bit of Wing Castella first on the edges of those wings. We want to be doing that. Little Wing Castella, just for a little shimmer. I don't know if you can see it. It's just a little shimmer on there. Makes them look just a little bit more magical and Christmassy. And then a tiny little curve on these wings, because of course, they're going into the inside of the card. It's pretty flat in there. We're going to flatten that inside pretty good. So a little curve on those, just a touch. And then I want my bird to kind of fly out of the top. I want the wing to come out, because when you go to close the card, it's all going to hide anyway. You can see that it's just hiding. Okay, so I'm going to place my bird. So how I figure out where to put my glue and not go over, I grab a Post-it note. Let's grab that other one that I had. So I lay my bird on here. Okay, just how I want it to look when it opens up the card. And I'm going to follow that line that I don't want to get any glue over. So I'm going to follow that line. I'm going to lay my Post-it note on one half of my bird. And now when I go to flip it over, I can see I only want to get glue on this side of my bird. Okay, so when I go to glue this down now, I'm only going to put glue on this half of my bird. Also knowing that, you know, the top of my wing is flying out of the card. So no glue past this line. We've just got it on the one side. Okay, now when I go to take my Post-it note, I can lay it right back down on the card and know that I've only got it on the one half. So I've lined up my Post-it note now and again with the half side of my card. And when I go to glue it down, I'm going to peel up my Post-it note and my glue's only on that half side. So now when I go to close it, it's not going to attach this wing to the base of my card. Okay, next up, we are going to grab our card front that we made, our lovely card front, and we're going to burnish that edge and fold that card. So probably better if I fold it this way. All those dimensionals are making it a little tricky to fold the other way. Just so I get a nice good crease on that and I can see it. First thing I'm going to do is close my card, and I'm only going to put adhesive on this side. Now, you can use Stampin' Seal, you can use glue, whatever you like. I'm going to use Stampin' Seal because I don't like to see glue through the backs of my cards. I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal nice and close to the edge here. On white, sometimes you can see the glue lines. So I am being just picky with this, but to each their own. Okay, now I know I need to center this, but I also want to line it up with the inside of my groove here. So I should have about 1/4 inch all the way around, right? So I'm going to go 1/4 inch from the bottom, and I'm going to lay this in nice and tucked in with my folded line. Not over it. You have to be on this side of the score line. And now that you've scored it and folded it, it's a very prominent line. So I'm going to do my 1/4 inch from the bottom, lining it up real nice, and I'm going to lay that down. Now that's pretty good spacing on there. Now you can see why I only wanted to put adhesive on one side. I can touch it all I want and it doesn't get sticky. I'm not causing issues, nothing. Just adhesive on one side till you get it in. Then I'm going to take my adhesive and put it on the other side. I could have erased my pencil marks if I wanted to, but you're not going to see them anyway. They're way in there. Okay, so there we go. I've got that. Now this is easy peasy. All I have to do is fold the top of my card over and starting from this side, kind of push it that way. That will grab onto that adhesive and it will now open. Look at that. That little birdie is flying. It's flying out of your card to send you that little message. Okay, so then the last thing we need to do, pretty easy, is we just have to grab some of the blue flowers. I've got mine in a little pack here. I've already pulled them out. So I just need to grab my little blue flowers embellishments and place them right next to my flowers on the front. So I'm going to do that. I've got my little blue flowers here. One big one. I'm going to put that one on the bottom. And then I've got one little one. And I'm going to put that one on the top. And there we go. There is our finished card. I do love the little pop-up element inside. I just think it makes it a little more snazzy, a little extra, just a little extra. Yeah. So this is a beautiful pack of paper, beautiful set of die cuts. You don't have to get the stamp set, which is kind of more sympathy cards, but if that's what you need, you can get the stamp set with it. It's a bundle. You save 10%. But yeah, I just love the die cuts alone. They were so great. Like I said, you don't really need, there's nothing that really cuts out a sentiment or anything. This is great for sentiments on your own, but it's a beautiful die cut set. Those doves are gorgeous. And the paper is gorgeous as well. And I thought I would show you a couple more things you can make with this set. So I'm going to bring in a couple of other cards that were made. Here's one that uses more of the paper. There's also an embossing folder that you can get. This one says Sending Love. It's a little tuck card. Fun little card. We've got a lovely little box that you can make out of it with some of the beautiful ribbon. This is a sprig with the glimmer paper. We've also got this card, which can be made with the embossing folder. And of course, there's that beautiful leaf paper. And then this was another piece that I made, which is like a lovely frame and a banner. And then you could put somebody's initials in there, or you could put somebody's name, like Amy, or something, you know, a nice short name, or you could do initials for somebody who has a really long name. And then you could frame the little banner in there. It's in a little pop-up banner. So that's another thing you can do with this set. I hope this inspires you. I hope it makes you want to go create on your own. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Again, thank you. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.